Chapter 1: A Silent Frontier. I've been on this lifeless rock for a year now, a part of the Artemis Base, the sprawling lunar colony spread across the moon's south pole. I'm a geologist by trade, but in a place like this, you're more than your job description. I've repaired solar panels, run diagnostic checks on the life support systems, and even cooked communal meals on Sundays. But it's the lunar landscape that has always drawn me, a void canvas of gray and white, holding secrets of a past that is older than Earth's. That night, just like any other, I was on a routine EVA, collecting rock samples from the crater near our base. The desolate beauty of the lunar landscape, stark and ethereal, stretched out around me, untouched by any wind or rain. My radio buzzed, a voice echoing in my helmet. It was Sanchez, our base commander. "Hawkins, you finished with the samples?" I gave a thumbs up to the small camera mounted on my suit. "Just loading them up, be back at the base in 20. A brief acknowledgement crackled back, and then silence. I moved deliberately, the lower lunar gravity making each motion feel like a dream sequence. As I turned to make my way back to the rover, a fleeting shadow crossed my vision. It was gone as soon as it came. Startled, I looked up. The unblinking stars stared back, scattered across the velvety black sky. The sun, the primary source of light and shadows on the lunar surface, was in the same position as before. Puzzled, I looked around. The lunar surface around me was still bathed in the same eerie, unchanging light. "Probably just a micrometeorite," I murmured to myself, attributing the shadow to a small space rock burning up in Earth's atmosphere. A week later, I saw the shadow again. This time, I wasn't alone. Baker, the resident biologist, and my rover companion saw it too. A shadow, swift and fleeting, playing across the undulating, rocky surface of the moon. Baker, ever the rationalist, suggested it was the trick of the light, an optical illusion formed by our helmet visors. I wanted to believe her, I truly did, but a primal part of me, an instinctual tug of fear, refused. Days turned into weeks, and the shadow, our ghostly companion, made its appearance more often. It began to manifest not just outside, but within the confines of the Artemis Base as well. Silent, quick, and always out of the corner of the eye. The crew divided into believers and skeptics, and a palpable tension grew. Routine was replaced by restlessness, laughter by whispers. The moon, once our frontier, had become our haunted house. Sanchez, in an attempt to restore normalcy, tightened schedules, increased workload. Scientific explanations were given, mass hysteria, an optical side effect of prolonged low-gravity exposure, they said. But the shadows continued their dance, a macabre ballet on this lunar landscape. I could not help but feel that we were not alone, that we were being watched, and the alien shadows on the lunar landscape hid a terror we had yet to face. Chapter 2: Unearthly Echoes. As the days turned into weeks, our reality became a blur of work, sleep, and shadows. The shadows weren't tangible, touchable things. They were like cold gusts of wind, quick and unfathomable, glimpses of an unseen predator that stalked our peripheral vision. One day, as I was working near the rim of Shackleton Crater, I saw the shadow again. But this time, it was different. It was longer, more pronounced, its edges sharp against the lunar regolith. A shiver shot down my spine, a primal response to an unidentified threat. I instinctively reached for my radio. "Sanchez, you seeing this?" I asked, my voice trembling. Silence met me, followed by a crackle. "Negative, Hawkins, what's your status?" "I saw the shadow," I mumbled, feeling a sense of unease settling in. The radio buzzed with a long, uncomfortable pause. Then Sanchez's voice cut through, stern and official. "Return to the base, Hawkins. We'll discuss this during debrief." By the time I reached Artemis Base, the whole crew had gathered. Their faces, projected on my helmet's internal display, were etched with concern, skepticism, fear. In that cramped, metallic conference room, I narrated my encounter, my words floating in a silence more profound than the lunar vacuum. When I finished, an uncanny quiet hung in the air. Baker broke the silence first, her rational mind grasping for a logical explanation. "Could it be a malfunction in your suit's visual system?" "No," I said. The conviction in my voice surprised even me. I took off my helmet for a moment. The shadow, it was still there. The revelation spread a tangible wave of unrest. Taking off your helmet in an EVA was not just against protocol, it was downright dangerous. The raw exposure to the lunar environment, the unsettling mix of extreme temperature shifts, and the pervasive vacuum could cause a severe, even fatal reaction. It was a measure of my terror that I had risked it. Sanchez finally stood up, his sturdy frame imposing in the cramped quarters. "We've let this go on for too long. We're not superstitious explorers, we're scientists. We need proof." He turned to Baker and Dr. Yilmaz, the onboard tech expert. "I want every piece of data analyzed. Suit telemetry, base surveillance, rover footage, everything. Let's find out what these shadows are." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. We were taking action, trying to make sense of the unknown. The investigation would be our light, cutting through the enigmatic darkness that had engulfed us. I wish I could say it was enough, but I couldn't shake off a gut feeling. We were not hunting the shadows, they were luring us into their trap. Chapter 3: Hunted in the Darkness. The next few weeks were a frenzy of activity. Baker, Yilmaz, and the rest of the team pored over data, scrutinizing every pixel, every frequency, every bit of code. Our lunar home was transformed into a hive of technological detective work. But despite the constant activity, the shadows were an ever-looming presence, seen out of the corner of our eyes, a chilling reminder of the unknown. I found myself drawn to the lunar surface more than ever. There was a twisted sort of comfort in confronting the fear head-on, standing on the same ground where the shadows played their mysterious games. One evening, I was out near the rim of the same crater, the Shackleton crater. The Earth hung in the black sky, a breathtaking blue marble filled with life and warmth. The stark contrast of our homely planet against the icy void of space and the barren lunar landscape was both beautiful and eerie. As I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, I saw it. A shadow, not fleeting or transient this time. It stood still, its inky darkness painted against the stark white of the lunar soil. A chill ran through my veins, a visceral dread spreading throughout my body. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears, my breath short and fast inside my helmet. I reached for the camera on my suit, pressing the shutter button. I had to capture it, this uninvited guest on our lunar landscape. The camera whirred, capturing the anomaly. I looked up from the camera, expecting the shadow to be gone, but it wasn't. Instead, it seemed to grow. My breath hitched as I realized the darkness wasn't just getting bigger, it was getting closer. My muscles screamed into action, propelled by raw, instinctual fear. I turned and bolted, my footprints etched into the lunar soil, a testament to my terror. The journey back to Artemis Base felt like an eternity. The terror of the shadow pursuing me was a potent adrenaline rush that amplified every sensation. I felt the cold seeping into my suit, heard the soft crunch of the regolith under my boots, saw the imposing form of the base growing larger in my field of vision. As I stumbled into the airlock, gasping and trembling, I heard the hiss of the doors sealing shut behind me. I turned to look out of the small window in the airlock door, half expecting to see the shadow looming outside, but there was nothing, only the familiar, desolate landscape, the surface gleaming under the unforgiving sunlight. I was safe, for now, but as I unhooked my helmet, the dread settled deep within my bones. We were not alone on this lunar frontier, and our uninvited guests were getting bolder. Chapter 4: Into the Shadow. The crew was in shock when I showed them the image, a stark, unsettling figure against the desolate lunar landscape. The shadow was irrefutable, tangible. Baker and Yilmaz analyzed the photo, their skepticism shattered by the hard evidence. In the following days, we went from a team of isolated lunar researchers to the epicenter of a global crisis. Communication with Earth increased. Top scientists, psychologists, even exobiologists weighed in, each with their theories and solutions. Then, one evening, as the world was grappling with the chilling reality of the unknown, the power went out. Artemis Base was plunged into darkness. The comforting hum of machinery, the blinking lights, the constant chatter over the radio, everything was replaced by a deep, menacing silence. The only light came from the Earth, casting long, ethereal shadows in the confined corridors of the base. A cold dread settled in, a sinister déjà vu. Then we saw them. Shadows, darker than the lunar night, creeping along the corridors, seeping through the walls. Their approach was slow, deliberate, an echo of the terror that gripped our hearts. In the darkness, Sanchez's voice cut through the silence, his tone resolute. "Stay together and head towards the emergency shuttle. It's our only chance." We moved as one, our handheld torches slicing through the darkness, their beams dancing on the metal walls. The emergency shuttle was our only lifeline, a vessel designed to evacuate the crew back to Earth in case of a catastrophic event. As we neared the shuttle bay, the shadows swarmed around us, their dark forms coalescing, no longer just fleeting apparitions. We could hear them now, an eerie, almost mournful wailing that echoed through the corridors. I couldn't shake off the feeling that they were trying to communicate, trying to tell us something. We boarded the shuttle, a frantic scramble in the gloom. Sanchez was the last one in, his face pale but determined. He sealed the door behind him, the pneumatic hiss cutting through the eerie wailing of the shadows. The shuttle came to life, the control panels a comforting glow in the darkness. Sanchez fired the engines, the roar a deafening crescendo in the confined bay. As we ascended, leaving Artemis Base behind, I looked through the small porthole. The base was swallowed by the shadows, disappearing into an inky abyss. But the lunar landscape around it, bathed in the light from Earth, was as desolate and untouched as ever. It was as if the shadows were tied to us, to our presence. As we made our journey back to Earth, a hollow silence filled the shuttle. We had escaped, but at what cost? We had ventured into the cosmos, touched another world, only to awaken something we did not understand. We had left shadows on the lunar landscape, an alien terror bound to our exploration, forever lurking on the edge of our ambition. We had stepped into the cosmos, into the unknown, and the unknown had stared back.